yɛtena matrase yɛ nkɔmmɔ twetwe anasɛ nkɔmmɔ nti a yɛtena ase ɛyɛ yɛ maame yɛ nuaba lawyer bi a watu ne ho esi hɔ a yɛfrɛ no Mary Ohenewaa afo ɔse adeɛ bi da n'akoma so atete ne yie paa na ɛno nti ɛna wapie abɔnten sɛ ɔbɛboa wɔ nipa biara obi di ne fa ya wo mu obi etete no enkwala yesese wo mo wobeti yesi a repo akwala we wobeti yesi we awo ne kunu sikan we awo ne yiri sikan ekunu sa nniamo no na etete ne tira wapi aba abo.
Please join me. Let's welcome our esteemed guest and speaker, a true advocate for justice, human rights and well-being for all individuals, Mary Ohenewaa Afo Esquire, human rights lawyer, author, and advocate, and Ohenewaa Human Rights Advocate, Chief Executive Officer. What a round of applause, please.
It looks like I would have to sit here, but first of all, I would have to. We have to distribute the training manuals to you here. It's a press launch, or better still, announce a training program on preventive crime. I call it National Training on Preventive Crime. The distribution, if you can, please, it should go together so that we don't take more than necessary. Yes, it's a national training on preventive crime, and I want to outdoor it today through the media. I work as an advocate. Yes, so it is not just about bringing media to come here and talk about a book or a training program. I also want the public to know that now we need to tackle preventive crime. And I've carefully written a book on that, which has to do with the beginning and the end of abuse. I wish I could stand and talk. No, it's okay.
It's okay.
The beginning, please, I beg you, don't take more, otherwise it will be corruption in this room. It will be abuse on my person. So it is carefully written by myself and supervised by a High Court judge in the person of His Lordship, the Very Reverend, His Honor, His Lordship, the Very Reverend, Honorable Justice George A. Kinsampiaboni, who is a High Court judge. And we work together. We used to work together in the firm. I am still there, Law Cognate Ghana. This book started as this, as a pocket-sized book. I wrote this book in 2022. And then it was for teachers only, because I have done my advocacy in 2021. I've done 3 educational districts. I've done Ewuti Senior East, and then Gan West, and then Sama Madreju. And you talk about a district, it's a lot of work. I did all those schools. So I needed to upgrade it to teachers, and that's why I wrote this book. And then I later converted it to this. There are some questions that will come later. And then this one too also has to do with child abuse identification and mandatory reporting guidelines. This one is for anyone who handles school children or children. It's even for everyone. It is the knowledge that I want the people of Ghana to have. Okay, it's a carefully researched work, and it shouldn't just be lying somewhere. And with the preventive crime, just like I said, it talks about the beginning and the end of abuse, which is basically law, abuse, and psychology. So those of you who has this one, I want to go through this one first. If you go through the content, yes, the content talks about mandatory reporters. Who is a mandatory reporter? Okay, if you are targeting, and the program is for teachers, pastors, heads of institutions, community heads, organizations, groups, and students in tertiary education. For the students in tertiary education, when we talk about abuse, it's between 18 years and 24 years. These are the categories that people go through abuse with no knowledge at all. Okay, so the tertiary institutions are my priority now. Initially, it was the teachers, but I think that we should tackle that angle first. When you go through the introductory part, you realize that the ages between 19 and 24 are committing all the offenses now in Ghana, all the criminal offenses. So for the this one is for handlers of children. So who is a mandatory reporter? It is summarized as anybody in a leadership position or anybody in the community who can help. So you get to know who a mandatory reporter is, and the whole essence of this project is to prevent crime. What can we do to prevent crime? So we start from the children. You should be able to report cases of abuse. The Ghana Police Service is mandated by law to do that. People will call me, and my husband, I'm not a police and I'm not a gender minister. I don't hold any position in Ghana. But then I have a book that the people of Ghana needs it. So you see all the provisions in the book that direct you to what you have to do. It's not okay for us to put the laws to be hidden in the law books. We should be able to let the people know. It's not okay for people to be in prison or in the overcrowded prison. So we educate people, we prevent the crime. Because Section 8.3 of the Domestic Violence Act, which deals with free medical care by the state. Victims of abuse must have free medical care. That law has never been implemented. So what can we do to prevent crime? We have to get the knowledge base, then we can move ahead. So the book talks about everything, information of the incident not to be shared, definition of child abuse and or neglect. One thing I realized in my advocacy in schools is that we don't know about neglect. When we talk about neglect, it is parental neglect. Children go to school and most of them have not bathed. Their school uniform is torn, is dirty. I have dealt with the school children. You talk to them, realize they've not brushed their teeth and a whole lot of things. So we must ensure that parental responsibility is people take care of their children and all that. But then this is what the law says. Parents should know. And the school authorities should also know. You cannot just be teaching school children, even when they are so dirty. Invite the parents. So Ghana Education Service has a lot of work to do. And I'm surprised that for 1 year I've been chasing this deal never, but I don't want to talk about it. So whatever it is, we have the warning signs of child abuse and neglect. What can you do, or what do you see when a child is going through neglect? Everything is in the book, be it physical abuse, emotional abuse, sexual abuse. A lot of school children, when they are being sexually abused at home, you realize that they can't sit well. Even for us older people, when you go through a lot of sexual whatever, you realize that there are a lot of issues even for older people. So when a child goes through abuse, so this book, mandatory reporting. No district director, no circuit supervisor, no headmaster must settle criminal matters. They must report the matter to the Ghana police for arrest and prosecution. So these, even if you don't know what to do, the warning signs should be there for you to know that this child is going through abuse, this child is going through neglect. So the important ones are number 8, number 9, and also, I know you take your book there to your various media houses, and you should question why nobody in Ghana is interested in abuse. This book was released way back in July last year, and I was trying my best to see if I could get government through the Ministry of Education to ensure that teachers all over the country read on these things, but I have not been successful. So as you continue with the book, we talk about custody and access. Section 45 is important to me because for us lawyers who deal with matrimonial matters and all that, which is divorce, custody, access, a lot of men nowadays just take the children from their mother. and they think that it is okay. No. Section 45 says that the family tribunal shall consider the best interest of the child and the importance of a young child being with his mother when making an order for custody. And that, it follows to say that, and that children of tender age must live with their mother, the natural mothers. So, if women cannot assert their rights, if the system cannot help them, if women are so powerless and do not have money to even fight for their rights, there should be a way out. So we move to the second book, which is, this book is my heart. I wrote this book on pain because I had gone through abuse beyond to the nonsense degree, even as a human rights lawyer. And I've always said that the damage is permanent. You can read the back, can get a lot of information here. When we prevent abuse, we may as well prevent the damage that comes with it, because abuse is a very deep issue. Okay, so this book introduces you to the beginning and the end of abuse. Those of you who have it, you would realize that the content, which is not numbered here, there were some changes in my book that they had to do it overnight, and it's all part of my frustrations. So that is why you don't see any member here. I just want to carry the media to just let the public know that there's a book to solve our problems. The beginning of abuse, look at the various types of violence. Abuse and violence can be used at the same time. So that is what the book is about. Section 1 deals with, definitions, why abuse or domestic violence is a crime and punishable. Then you talk about the types of violence. The types of violence is important so that you can know that you're going through economic abuse, you're going through emotional abuse, you're going through this, you're going through. So if you know the type, verbal abuse, physical abuse, so these are acts of violence, but in law. So after knowing the various types of violence, you get to know the law. Why are they offensive under the law? Why is it that somebody slaps you? Yes, it's a act of physical violence, but in law, it is assault. So why is it a legal issue? Because they are punishable under the laws of Ghana. So I have carefully laid down the narratives, okay? And also the jail terms. So when you go through it, you realize that there's a table here. You get to know the punishments in law, so that if we educate our young children that do not go and defile a young girl, it's an act of sexual violence. In law, if the child is below 16 years, it is defilement. That is what the law says. That is the offense. But the punishment in law is 25 years for all sexual violence offenses. Why would a 90-year-old child want to do that and spend 25 years in jail? What can we do to advocate for the prevention of crime instead of allowing our young children to go to jail? A lot of these boys are being put to jail now, and it's very, very, it's a frightening issue. And it has taken me 1 year to get government intervention through the Ministry of Education. 1 year. You know how painful it is to be following something for 1 year? So we started with, I'm trying to jump everything, but this is the second part, which has to do with the legal aspects and the penal consequences. So everything is in the book here. Those of you who have it, is in page 54. The journalists in Ghana, even GJ, where is the boss I was dealing with? I wrote to them. I said the 2 books should even go, instead of 350, they should just pay the printing fee, 50 cedis, so that people can have it. The case of Majwa came and the police officer, I thought I tuned in to listen to the narratives. I'm not able to get the substance. You don't need to call lawyer Ohenewaa to have a discussion. You should know that this is manslaughter. This man, as a journalist, this is manslaughter. You don't need to become a lawyer. This one, this is what is manslaughter? It is in. What is murder? It is in. So that your discussions will be you know, what is the word? Listen to radio and everybody saying the same thing. Especially the three ones. Tree. How many journalists have certificates? It's not about having the language. We should educate the public. I don't want to. Mary is a very emotional person, but I'm trying to restrain myself so that I can focus. So this ends the legal aspects. Everything is in. Every criminal offense that is categorized under domestic and sexual violence is in the book. Asemba mama frame. Mary is not available anymore. Read the book and educate the public yourselves. Yes, I am not available anymore. I'm not available to fight for anybody's rights. So people should know how to fight for their own rights by having my book. Only 50 cedis. Pay for the printing. Pay. All my books, I've never sold any of my books throughout my career. I've written so many books, marriage, divorce, property settlement, so many books, domestic and sexual violence. From 2010 that I was called to the bar, I've never sold any of my books. But one person came on board to say that, Mary, I want to help you fund the books for you. Then it ended as a saga. I went off in 2022 to understand, because these things are mental issues. And that takes us to the psychology of abuse. Say, Obiya wa yaka yaka dia. And I understand why people kill. Yes. You should kill the person. Because if you don't understand the psychology of abuse, you kill the person. A lot of women are killing their husbands through food poisoning. And we think that we should sit as a nation and just report these things. Why would somebody kill his wife or husband or a girlfriend or boyfriend? Why would somebody do that? Because the person's brains have been, triggered. We need to educate ourselves well in advance. If your stomach is paining, you know what to take. But if your mind is sick, what do you take? So, victims of abuse go through a whole lot of psychological damage. We also have offenders and their personality disorders. Why will a victim of abuse have bipolar? I've carefully detailed this. So everything here is on psychology. And this is law. I am not a psychologist. It's taken me 1 year to read on psychology of abuse. My books have been taken by the woman who is helping me at the Ghana Health Services. She's the chief clinical psychologist, Mrs. Isi Myers at Lekma Hospital. She requested for copies of my books.
Question time. Okay, brother. Please mention your name.
My name is Obed. I report for GH1 TV. So this book basically is about the prevention of crime. I want you to, in summary, talk about. You spoke about the levels of prevention of crime. I heard primary, secondary, tertiary, and what you want this book, to do in terms of prevention of crime. Just that.
Assuming I don't give it the way you want, the whole essence of this program is to outdoor the training manual. I work as an advocate, but I've been off since 2020 because I have went through an abuse of my person. So the whole essence of this project is that I work as an advocate. 2020, we had COVID, yeah. But 2021, I went to schools. I did 3 educational districts. By the end of the project, I had a personal issue. I was abused and used to the nonsense degree. So I went off. My target for 2021 was to expand the advocacy, which I did it and was good for me. I ended so bad. So in 2021, I decided 2022, to read on the problem, which had to do with personality disorders, why people would abuse people, and I've come up with this book. So in summary, I have already worked on a lot of advocacy projects. My first book is on women issues, We have the domestic violence book. I have the cycle of abuse. I have marriage. There are lots of unpublished books. But then I stopped to write this new book because I wrote it on pain. I believe that it sums up the beginning and the end of abuse by learning the psychology bit. It is the psychology of abuse why people kill people. It's a mental issue.
No man soon or the two just and a bear. So we hear lawyer no say or bebow. And what how be who are money be who, or what the jay be who are, or what say or bebow, or frena or bejoso, na and webi or one or the abow. It's the other must say, as I be when you're brain, I will show you. I mean, shram.